We have some extremely serious breaking news right now. According to Reuters, Donald Trump is preparing to deploy the National Guard into Washington, D.C. Reuters is reporting that the United States military is preparing for what could be a deployment of about 1,000 National Guardsmen into Washington, D.C. This is a very small city. I live in Washington, D.C. This is not like Los Angeles, hundreds and hundreds of square miles. This is a much smaller area. Here's the thing, Donald Trump is doing this based on what he says there are high crime rates. As a DC resident, I'll tell you firsthand, I feel safe in this city and always have. It's a city, of course. There are always instances of crime, but it hasn't been worse than previous years ever. He's making an announcement at 10 a.m. Obviously, things can change between now and then. I will be providing you on-the-ground live coverage as the National Guard is potentially deployed into the city. So spread the word so more people know. Subscribe to my Substack to support my work at the link in my bio, and follow along for all the news you need to know about, so get ready.
Remember this kid? This is Big Balls, Edward Kornstein. He was part of the Doge kids that went in and helped Elon Musk find all of the fraud, waste, and abuse during the first 3 months of Doge. The press asked him why they called himself Big Balls. He said that he did it as a troll to LinkedIn because he needed to have a username. Well, he is not a troll at all. He actually is fitting to his nickname because a few days ago, a gang of about a dozen young men tried to assault a woman in her car at night in D.C. This is according to Elon Musk. Said a Doge team member saw what was happening, ran to defend her, and was severely beaten to the point of concussion. But he saved her. It is time to federalize D.C. It turns out that that Doge member was indeed Big Balls. Donald Trump and Elon Musk can't be too much on the outs, as Donald Trump then tweeted out basically what happened during the incident, and then put Muriel Bowser, the Washington, D.C. mayor, on blast, saying you need to get your shit together and your crime under control, or we're going to have to federalize Washington, D.C. So more to come from this, guys.
That kid, Big Balls from Doge, he wasn't saving a white girl from a carjacking. He approached a group of young black men who had a white girl with them because one of them is dating her. And he called them all the N-word and tried to get her away from him. And that's why he got his ass kicked. Okay. And that truck that said America on it behind it was a termite pest control truck that said American Pest. And they just cropped that out. The media lies. Even when it tells you stuff you like to hear.
This is Liberation Day in D.C., and we're going to take our capital back. We're taking it back. Under the authorities vested in me as the President of the United States, I'm officially invoking Section 740 of the District of Columbia Home Rule Act. You know what that is? And placing the D.C. Metropolitan Police Department under direct federal control. And in addition, I'm deploying the National Guard to help reestablish law, order, and public safety in Washington, D.C., and they're going to be allowed to do their job properly.
This is the language of occupation, not the language of liberation. We're not going to be occupied. We will not be erased. We will not let our streets become the proving ground for some fucking dictator. This is our city. This is our home. The fight for D.C. is a fight for racial justice. The fight for D.C. is the fight for democracy itself. And I promise you guys, when we fight together, when I look at, I see the breadth and depth of people from different backgrounds. When we fight together, we will win. We will win. We will win. We will win. We will win.
To rescue our nation's capital from crime, bloodshed, bedlam, and squalor, and worse. This is Liberation Day in D.C., and we're going to take our capital back. We're taking it back. Under the authorities vested in me as the President of the United States, I'm officially invoking Section 740 of the District of Columbia Home Rule Act. You know what that is? And placing the D.C. Metropolitan Police Department under direct federal control, and you'll be meeting the people that will be directly involved with that. Very good people, but they're tough, and they know what's happening, and they've done it before. In addition, I'm deploying the National Guard to help reestablish law, order, and public safety in Washington, D.C., and they're going to be allowed to do their job properly.
Just so we're all clear, this press conference is one long anti-black dog whistle. So, this is war against black people, I guess. It is.
The biggest switcheroo in history was the predator making themselves seem like the prey, and then making the prey seem like the predator. It's like, it doesn't matter what the fuck come out about Caucasian people. Nobody gives a fuck. Oh, the president, he redacted his name from the Epstein list. Oh, it is. Blah, blah. Bitch, your president became president simply, and put everybody in their position simply to redact his name off the fucking list. That's a crime. You can't do that. But, hey, nobody cares, because we're going to fight the war on black people. Because if black people would do right, then the senators would stop making such fucked up laws. Really? Do you believe that? Do you believe that in your heart's heart? That if they were to just get rid of black people, the world would be a better fucking place? Name black serial killers. Name the black school shooters. Name the black government officials in the Republican House that are passing all of the laws. Name the black officials that Trump has appointed that are doing illegal things within our government right in our face. But you can't name any of that shit because you're too fucking busy. When that big ass Florida bus with over 100 people happened, and it was Caucasians and foreigners with this EBT fraud, that got swept right under the rug, because that's not the purpose. The purpose isn't to actually reveal who's doing what. The purpose is to make black people look bad. We're not going to talk about all of the Caucasian South Africans that came. They were coming under the guise of being farmers, but nobody wants to work in the farm fields. But isn't this why your president say he brought them over here? It's because their farmland was being stolen, but they're on EBT welfare in Section 8. So the programs aren't the problem. You just don't feel like black people should get it, because them getting it is them taking advantage of the system. But if Caucasians get it, they actually need the help. It'd be like, you can't, the hypocrisy. If I don't agree with something, I just don't fucking agree with it. I'm not going to say, oh, I don't agree with it for one race of people, but I do believe that the other race is going to do this and do that. The president got in and wants to take away funding for college. But people think, well, that's a good thing. If people can't work to go to school, they shouldn't be going. So you think only rich people kids will continue to flourish and thrive. Meanwhile, all of this shit is paid for through our taxpayer dollars. And if we had to really calculate who the fuck made the most in taxpayer dollars, because I don't know about anybody else, but this theory that whites work harder than blacks, it's crazy as hell. Because in what world do you fucking live in? Because in the world that I live in, when I'm going out into the world all the time, they're actually the laziest fucking workers I've seen in my motherfucking life. And that doesn't go for all of them, but majority of them are too busy at the job, worried about what the fuck black people doing, trying to make a black person look bad, trying to harass black people at work, that if you go and complain, it wasn't meant like that. Well, bitch, if I was here fucking with you every day, would they say it wasn't meant like that? Or because I'm a black woman, it would be she's just so frail. She can't handle you saying anything. But this bitch can dish out motherfucking orders and talk crazy to every fucking body. But she's so innocent and frail. She can't handle it. But the bitch barked like a goddamn dog. Oh, okay. I'm just saying. In the world's context, you would rather have a black person to tear the fuck down. You would rather have a black person to put the fuck down. You would rather have a black person to pin everything on than to fucking accept that the fucking Caucasians that y'all love so fucking much are actually the fucking problem. It would break the fucking world to say the truth about Caucasians. Because if you say the truth about Caucasians, you're jealous, you're playing the victim, you're doing this. And they'd be like, really, bitch? Because black people tell their truth and they the victim. White people tell a lie. And see, nobody gets it. You should be more sympathetic. You should, bitch, I shouldn't do shit. I should dish out. It'd be like if black people treated the world as the world treated black people, y'all motherfuckers wouldn't be able to handle the motherfucking heat. Y'all go around talking about how black women got a small fucking attitude, when really these bitches don't even be having attitude. It'd be like, you want to know why black people and everybody else think a black woman is the worst type of manager? It's because she don't fuck around. Bitch, get your job done. I'm not here to key. I don't give a fuck about your kids, about your neighbor, about your fucking life, bitch. I'm not here for that. Because if you don't do your job, guess who got to do it? I do. And why the fuck would I do your job when you paid to do your fucking job? So if you look at that as me being a harsh fucking manager because I'm not willing to let you fuck around on the clock, I'm not willing to do your job for you, or I'm not looking for somebody to kiss my ass because I don't need that, bitch. I got here through my own fucking accomplishments. Then, oh, so be it. So be it. You want to see the fucking problem we got in the nursing home? It's the nurse management, and most of them are Caucasian. Because them bitches ain't never there. They don't give a fuck. They could care less about how the fuck your grandma and your granddaddy goddamn getting by. They don't give a fuck that it's only 2 CNAs to 40 fucking people. Them bitches wouldn't even get on the fucking floor if you paid them to get on the fucking floor. Then you got the motherfucking nurses. Bitch, what are you doing? Because if it's only 2 A's, bitch, today you're an A. You can go pop meds. Like, y'all act like popping meds take motherfucking 20, 30 years. And it don't. It don't take a lifetime to pop meds. Most of the time you see fucking nurses laughing and kikiing with the fucking director while the A's running around struggling. It be like, at some point, people got to take accountability. Because the way that y'all say or talk about black people, and they the motherfuckers who do the jobs that other motherfuckers don't want to do, or they the ones really in the work field doing the best that they can do. And they be like, stop acting like the world has given black people motherfucking shortcuts. That's why now all of a sudden, because black people are getting masters and bachelors, now motherfuckers want to say, a master's ain't that much. Really, bitch? Really, bitch? Because a degree in general is a fucking accomplishment. But now that black people getting degrees, now them shits don't matter no more. Now we want to change the whole program. We don't want nobody to go to fuck to school. Oh, okay. I'm just saying. All the rules are always changed to make sure they impact black people in a negative way. Right? These kids live in a world of technology. It'd be like, I could understand them saying they don't need their phones in class, but why not have the phones at all? From what we know about the school system is the school system usually only sends out alerts through emails, and that's after they found a way to like wrap it up so it doesn't look bad for the school. It'd be like the way people are willing to entrust their children to the school when school has never been able to be trusted with your children. Bitch, y'all are not in the 90s no more. Like, y'all are giving these motherfuckers too much credit. Y'all are literally letting the government take control of everyday life. And y'all motherfuckers is like, yeah, that's what we need. No, bitch, that's what you need. If you need a motherfucker to tell you how to be a good person, bitch, that's you. If you need a motherfucker to tell you how to wake up, how to talk, how to walk, how to raise your fucking kids, if you ain't told your child they shouldn't have their phone out in class, guess who fault that is? Bitch, that's yours as a parent. That ain't got nothing to do with the school. Right? These teachers here for 8 hours a day, but they ain't doing no fucking teaching. It'd be like, what are you talking about? Even without the phones. No phones, and the teacher still ain't teaching, then what? Nobody's in an outrage. Because then you point it back to the parents. Well, you should be teaching your child anyway. Then why the fuck is school mandatory? Like, what the fuck are we paying them to do? Like, but then when you get to asking the real questions, everybody want to get their pennies in a bunch and be like, you're just, no, bitch. Y'all really don't want no motherfucking change. Anything that condemns black people, y'all motherfuckers are for it. Any way that you feel like you're hurting black people, you motherfuckers is for it. People now can still say, as Caucasians, they never went to a school with metal detectors. But majority of black schools got metal detectors, but the school shootings are always in white communities. What are we controlling here? What are we doing?
Let me be real clear. And I need y'all to hear me like our lives depend on it, because they do. We are not in a political debate. We are in a war, not a metaphorical one, not a symbolic one, but a strategic, well-funded, policy-backed, legally armed war for the soul of this country and the bodies of every person that don't fit the mold of a straight, cis, Christian, white man. And the wildest part is half of y'all still don't see it. You're playing checkers on a chessboard that's already been cleared. You think that they're just coming for trans folks, for queer kids, for immigrants, for poor people. No, baby, they are coming for order, and they're bringing chaos as a battering ram. White men, the most coddled demographic in American history, have finally realized that they are no longer the majority numerically, and so now they're using power, policy, and platforms to cling to what they can't reclaim, which is control. They've decided that they can't run the show, and so they'll burn the whole damn theater down. And the gag is they told us. They told us who they were when they showed up in Charlottesville with tiki torches and khakis, when they stormed the Capitol in broad daylight. They banned books, rewriting the ones they left behind, outlawing truth, targeting teachers, sterilizing trans care, gagging free speech, gutting Medicaid, criminalizing being poor, being black, being alive. And while they are passing laws, we're posting memes. Y'all keep waiting for the moment to get bad enough. The moment was Roe. The moment was George Floyd. The moment was Pulse. The moment was Trayvon, was Uvalid, was Obergefell being threatened. It was Tennessee banning drag. It was Florida erasing history. It was Texas legalizing bounty hunts on uteruses. It was Alabama writing segregation back into the books with a fresh coat of Christian nationalism. It was Trump staying quiet and screaming at the same time. And it was us arguing over which identity would lead the resistance while the fascists were halfway through their takeover. I am not here to play with y'all. I am not here to say vote, and that I hope that you remember to vote in November. I am here to say mobilize or get mowed the down. Because while we're dissecting microaggressions, they're orchestrating genocide in suits and ties. And if that feels extreme to say, then you haven't been paying attention. This country is on fire, and instead of water, most of y'all brought vibes. White supremacy doesn't need a new plan. It's using the same playbook that it always had. Divide, distract, dominate. And what are we doing? Sitting in silos playing the oppression Olympics, letting respectability politics babysit our rage. And that ends today. I don't care if you're gay, bi, trans, poor, disabled, undocumented, formerly incarcerated, fat, femme, sex working, devout, disillusioned, or just trying to make it through the next week. If you are not white, cis, straight, or Christian and a man with inherited wealth or generational impunity, you are on the list. And if you think for 1 second that aligning yourself with whiteness, with maleness, with neutrality will save you, baby, you are building the gallows with your silence. So let's get honest. You want to know why they're winning? It's because they unify in fear. You want to know why we keep losing? It's because we fracture in ego. The right builds armies and the left builds hashtags. This is your clarion call. If you were wondering where the revolution is, it's wherever you are standing. If you were wondering what to do, start where you are. Call your lawmakers. Shut down your boardrooms. Go and fund black and queer and trans-led organizations. Walk out, sit in, raise hell, and do it now. Because when they come knocking for the next person, don't you dare act surprised that there's nobody left to answer the door for you. If it gets you fired, let it. If it finally makes them mad enough to see you, let it. Because baby, if we don't act, we are not surviving. We are surrendering. And I don't know about y'all, but I wasn't born to die quietly. I was born to be a problem. So let's become a problem that they can't solve together.
We have other cities also that are bad. Very bad. You look at Chicago, how bad it is. You look at Los Angeles, how bad it is. We have other cities that are very bad. New York has a problem. And then you have, of course, Baltimore and Oakland. We don't even mention that anymore. They're so far gone. We're not going to let it happen. We're not going to lose our cities over this. And this will go further. We're starting very strongly with D.C., and we're going to clean it up real quick. Very quickly, as they say. We're going to have a tremendous success in what we're doing. Other cities are hopefully watching this. They're all watching, just like everyone's watching here. They're all watching, and maybe they'll clean up.
It's just a friendly reminder that almost half the population in D.C. identifies as African American. Make no mistake, this isn't about trying to control crime. This is just the regime moving on to the next people of color on their list.
I'm not scared, and I can't figure out why anybody else is. The last time I checked, the National Guard and the police, they work for us, period. Let me break this down. Trump just commandeered DC's police department and flooded the streets with over 800 National Guard troops. He claimed that DC is lawless, all while crime statistics are painting a wildly different picture. Violent crime has been down for the past 30 years in DC. He's calling it Liberation Day and invoking emergency powers from Section 740 from the DC Home Act, and that federalizes the police for up to 30 days. And Pam Bondi is supposed to be the one that's in charge. Critics are calling this unprecedented, uncalled for, and unsettling. It's said that this power grab is only a distraction to cover up the mounting scandals against the Trump administration. The Epstein files, looming tax bills, and all of the tariffs. But here's the truth. I'm not intimidated. All of those guardsmen, the cops, they don't own the streets, y'all. We do. We own the streets. Those folks are here to protect and to serve me. So if I walk outside and start giving me the side eye, they better step up to the side. And I really mean that. Like, step to the side, do your job, peasant. And I mean that. Like, what do y'all think is actually going to change? The regular police don't even have the power that y'all think that they have. Why are y'all afraid of the law? And y'all are citizens. Y'all don't have to be afraid. Y'all don't have to hide. This is not the Anne Frank story. We don't have to hide up in attics. Like,
Love to spit in the face of the police as the police are standing up there in uniform. They're standing and they're screaming at them an inch away from their face. And then they start spitting in their face. And I said, you tell them, you spit and we hit. And they can hit real hard. It's a disgusting thing. I've watched that for years, for 4 years. I've watched them. The police are standing, and they're told, don't do anything under any such, and you can see they want to get at it. And they're standing there, and people are spitting in their face, and they're not allowed to do anything. But now they are allowed to do whatever the hell they want.
So you mean to tell me all it took was for black people to get in office for the crime rate to go down? Mind blown. No, it's not. We told y'all this. So Mayor Brandon Johnson in Chicago has dropped the crime rate, okay? 35% in homicides and 39% in shootings in the first half of 2025. We all know the damage Trump done did in the first half, and this black man did some work in Chicago. You hear me? Not to mention in Birmingham, Mayor Randall Woodfin is doing his thing down there. He another black man. 56% drop in killings compared to last year in Birmingham. He's doing his job. And in Baltimore, we got Mayor Brandon Scott. Brandon Scott is doing his big one. 22% drop in Baltimore just this year alone. And you know what the common thing is? Not only are they black, not only are they black men, but they are doing things to show the community that they care and they can be things other than gangsters and thugs. They are literally investing in their community, showing them that they can be better other than what the statistics show that they are. Yeah, y'all didn't want a black woman in office, and now we got this person in here doing crazy things. But these 3 black men just changed some of the most deadliest cities in America. They changed it. Black men. Why is it that black people are always the reason things change, but y'all don't want to give us our props? Because the not talking enough about these mayors doing a big one. Y'all not. These 3 black men are doing their thing and nobody's really talking about it. But the person that y'all put in office is right here tearing shit up. I'm talking about a tornado coming through. Okay. And y'all talk about that, but y'all not talking about the good being done by black men.
Okay. When there was concern that Trump might take control over MPD at that time, that would be a complete disaster, and that you were worried that you're going to lose control of the city. Can you reflect Do you feel that you're at risk of losing control of the city? Are you worried this is going to be a complete disaster?
I'm going to work every day to make sure it's not a complete disaster. Let me put it that way. And I think that with Chief Smith's leadership and her expertise in both the federal space and the local space, we are going to do our level best to maintain, as the chief talked about, to maintain the trust that DC residents have in us. What could be a disaster is if we lose communities who won't call the police. That could be a disaster. Well, it would be a disaster if communities won't talk to the police, if a crime has been committed and could help solve that crime. That could be a disaster. It would be a disaster if people who aren't committing crimes are antagonized into committing crimes. That would be a disaster. So we're going to work every day to get this emergency put to an end. I'll call it the so-called emergency, and continue to do our work. And at the same time, make sure that if these are like the law enforcement officers who are called, they're leaving their homes, their towns, maybe doing double shifts. If our National Guard are deployed, they're leaving their primary mission to come. We don't want their time to be wasted. We want to be strategic and work with them. But I'll end by saying this. If we know the tools that are available to the district if we are experiencing a surge in crime, and I put them in place before. It includes curfews. I've asked the council to pass emergency legislation. I've asked the Congress for additional funds. We've done all of those things. So there's nobody here, and certainly nobody who works for me, who wants to tolerate any level of crime. And I know it's frustrating sometimes to hear if I say our crime numbers have gone down, yet you've been a victim of crime. It doesn't matter to you if crime has gone down, if you were a victim or you know someone who is a victim. So we understand that. We work every day to stop crime.
Today we're formally declaring a public safety emergency. This is an emergency. This is a tragic emergency. And it's embarrassing for me to be up here. You know, I'm going to see Putin. I'm going to Russia on Friday. I don't like being up here talking about how unsafe and how dirty and disgusting this once beautiful capital was, with graffiti all over the walls. It's another part of it, by the way, because we're talking about safety, but we're also talking about beautification. We have the most beautiful, potentially, capital in the world. We always had. But people come from Iowa, they come from Indiana, they come and then they get mugged. Not going to happen. Keep coming, because by the time you get your trip set, it's going to be safe again, and it's going to be clean very quickly. We're going to replace the medians that are falling down all over the roads. We're going to replace the potholes. We're going to put a nice new coat of asphalt over the top. No, we don't have to rip the road out and spend 7 years building a new road because they cut everything. Because some designers said, well, we need a 1/4 of an inch more turn for safety reasons. No, we're going to do it right. We're going to get it done quickly. So today we're declaring public safety emergency in the District of Columbia, and Attorney General Pam Bondi, who's fantastic, is taking command of the Metropolitan Police Department as of this moment. And I'll be making the appropriate notifications to Congress and to the mayor, our new DEA administrator, who's one of the top in the country. He better be Terry. If you're not, I'm going to get rid of you so fast. Terry Cole. Terry, thanks. Very good. We just got him, most highly recommended person. And you'll be designated as the interim federal commissioner of the Metropolitan Police Department, okay? And you run them tough. They're good. You have a lot of good people. You have people that shouldn't be there. You also have people that shouldn't be there. They got in there because of woke. but you have a lot of great police, and those people are the ones that want to help you. This city will no longer be a sanctuary for illegal alien criminals. We will have full, seamless, integrated cooperation at all levels of law enforcement, and we'll deploy officers across the district with an overwhelming presence. You'll have more police, and you'll be so happy, because you'll be safe. When you walk down the street, you're going to see police, or you're going to see FBI agents. We're going to have a lot of agents on the street. And you're going to have a lot of essentially military, and we will bring in the military if it's needed, by the way. We're going to have National Guard, but Pete Hegseth will tell you about it. We will bring in the military if needed. People say, oh, that's so terrible. He's going to bring in, it's been used many times over the years.
Give us a home. How about that? How about just giving people that need a home inside, then we'd be inside. You just want to just throw us to the
It don't matter
rack.
how much you like Kim Jong-un, we still not gonna like you. Ever. And the whole Washington D.C., that's just a facade. He trying to cover up for the Epstein files. Bro, we know you're on it. Stop tripping. Like, stop playing. You have the worst, you're the worst president. We can't even fall for propaganda. Like, and Washington D.C. doesn't even have any issues like that. And if you feel there's an issue, how about ethically fix it? But you're not. You just complain just to complain and trying to do a cover-up for the Epstein files. I don't know why people are guessing this. This dude literally came out his mouth talking about how if Ivanka wasn't his daughter, he would basically screw her and then let other men talk about how she had a voluptuous butt and all this stuff. Bro, yes, you're on the Epstein files. We know you are. You might as well come clean. Like, Barry, Ivanka, Donald Jr., come pick up your father right now. Like, pick him up right now.
Y'all, I just figured it out. He's doing a blitzkrieg. He's doing a blitzkrieg.
The Germans do a thing called Bewegungskrieg. There's an English journalist on the ground observing it. He names it Blitzkrieg, lightning war. And the idea behind it is that not that you fight everything, that you punch holes in the enemy's forces, get behind them, surround them, and then get them to surrender. And then that way you don't have to defeat the whole army. And then you just keep doing that until you get to wherever you're trying to get to. You just keep cutting off chunks of their army and putting them in POW camps.
We was right all along. He about to fortify the fuck out of DC because we about to find out that you ain't supposed to be there. It's over, bro. It's over. Either way. That's all I gotta say.
A criminal trial against the Trump administration that starts today, this week, in Judge Breyer's courtroom in San Francisco is just not getting enough attention. It's historic. It's unprecedented. It's the first case against an administration under the Posse Comitatus Act of 1878 because the allegations by Governor Newsom against the Trump administration are that by using federal troops on the ground in California for civilian enforcement operations during the protests related to Donald Trump's immigration policy, that wasn't just authorized by the federalization or the commandeering statutes about when a president can commandeer the use of state National Guard. It crossed the line and became a violation of the Posse Comitatus Act, for which that is not an exception. You're not going to be confused when I'm done with this hot take. The trial starts this week. I'm going to be doing daily updates about what's happening in the courtroom. There's no jury, only Judge Breyer, the brother of retired Supreme Court Justice Stephen Breyer. And you're on the Midas Touch Network and on Legal AF. I'm Michael Popak. Let me give you the update. Chomping at the bit to start on this trial. Now, let me back up. A couple of months ago, in June, the California Attorney General brought a case into Judge Breyer, you might have heard of, to stop the Trump administration from taking control and command of the California National Guard. It's their National Guard. There are limited exceptions when the federal government and the commander-in-chief can take control of it to commandeer it. California argued those exceptions were not present. Trump argued that they were, that he needed, among other things, federal troops to help him execute federal law that was being interfered with on the ground by protesters, and that was the argument. Judge Breyer, the trial court judge, after hearing argument and reading the briefs, ruled against the Trump administration originally. Well, actually, he ruled against the Trump administration. And he ruled that what Trump was doing was unconstitutional. He ruled that it was a violation of the 10th Amendment. These are powers reserved to the state. It violated the commandeering statute about when the circumstances that are limited that you can take over a state National Guard. He did not, however, and this is very important for this hot take, he did not rule on the Posse Comitatus Act violation alleged by California. So what went up on appeal to the Ninth Circuit by way of Donald Trump did not have the Posse Comitatus part. It only had the findings that it violated.
On hearing the news about what's happening in DC, I decided to tune into Fox because I wanted to gain some insight into how it was that they were framing this and where it was that they were placing their audience so that I could better kind of understand how to orient myself against this. And I actually came away with a very clear insight that I want to share because their strategy was abundantly clear. Like, it seems like all of their eggs are in this basket, okay? And that strategy is hypernormalization. Hypernormalization. And I know that this is something that people have said before, but I need us to really understand what that looks like and what that means, especially right now, because that reveals a vulnerability in what's going on that we should exploit, as well as just the severity of hypernormalization. The fact that they understand that is the strategy because it's that effective. What I mean by hypernormalization is maybe you had in your head, because I certainly did, that they were hyping up their base about this, right? That they were talking extensively about why this hostile takeover is so necessary because, DC looks like this, that, and the other, and it's so bad, and, and our heritage, we got to take back our capital, and we got to fight back against, maybe it felt like I imagine it would feel like a rally. It would be like a rallying cry around this, right? But that's not it. Not there, at least. There, it was wedged in between conversations about football players and what they had for lunch and statues and jokes, and it was nothing. It was nothing, right? It was actually painting even just the thought of opposition about this as absurd, right? Not as we're going to fight these evil people, but as absurd. Why would you fight against something that's so normal? It's just what's happening. It's just what's happening. Anyway, what do you think of Tom Brady? It was that. It was that. You know what I mean? And I think we need to really understand it. It's the sentiment of, those Dems are calling them a fascist and then going to work the next day. You see, this should reveal to us that every single day that we fail to respond with a level of severity that we are being met with, no matter what that looks like for you, we are ceding ground to that narrative that everything is normal. Every time we allow our beings to maladapt to the imagination of these fascists, we will continue to materialize into that reality. And that reality will continue to just feel normal. We'll just keep on slipping into it. And I think we need to recognize that and recognize that they recognize that and that they're banking on it, that's the play. And that can mean a lot of things for all of us. We can all show up in different ways, but we need to show up. That's all I'm saying.
Breaking news coming in overnight. Just after midnight last night, federal police flooded the streets of Washington, D.C. No press conference, no local coordination, just a quiet federal takeover by executive order. President Trump activated the Making D.C. Safe and Beautiful task force and sent federal agents from the FBI, ICE, ATF, U.S. Marshals, and the Park Police. Here's what you weren't told. These are the same agencies that were recently ordered to report directly to the executive branch, bypassing traditional layers of oversight. They've centralized authority, and now they're testing how far they can push this. The official reason? Public safety. However, violent crime in DC is already down by over 25% this year. This isn't about crime, it's about control. It's about the power to override your mayor, your governor, and even your own vote. If they can do this in DC, they can do it anywhere. New York, Chicago, Portland, and even your hometown. This isn't a one-time move. This is a template. A quiet normalization of federal force without your consent. Look it up. AP, Politico, Reuters, The Guardian. This isn't fear-mongering. This is the test. And then the next move, it could be your own street. Welcome to Pre-Gilead.
Here's something that I haven't heard people talk about. Why should I care about the veterans at this point? If he's militarizing DC, if he's putting our soldiers in the borders of the United States to protect Americans from Americans, like, why should I be proud of our veterans? Like, think about it. Like, why should I be proud of our troops? Like, what are our troops doing? The ones who already served and are back, where are you? The ones who are about to be deployed to DC, why are you there? Like, what about soldiers am I, as a red-blooded American, supposed to be proud of? Like, what are you doing? What have you done? And what will you be doing? This is something that exists that is going to be a consequence of this presidency. The people will hate veterans because the veterans are evil because they follow the orders. Why care about the veterans?
Almost time. Anytime you've got a president of the United States willing to deploy its own troops onto its own citizen, it is almost time. The only thing I've ever feared about the United States military soldiers being deployed, this idiot wig would cause a split. He would cause a split between the soldiers that believe they should protect and defend the Constitution of the United States and the soldiers that decided to obey the orders of the president. The military goes this country. Once the military begins to fight against its own military, because there will be soldiers pitted between one another, because there will be a group that feels like they should support the Constitution of the United States, and there will be a group that will stand behind this idiot in the White House. And I don't have time to even argue with the people that still support what Wig is doing, because they can't see for looking. Continue to say the same thing that everyone else is saying. What Trump is doing is dangerous, it's not lawful, but what I know is that if we had an election tomorrow, these same people, 80-90% would still vote for them, even though they are suffering. Who has time to deal with them? We don't. We have to fight fire with fire as much as we can. But let me warn you, when the military goes, when I say go, when they are pitted against one another, so goes this country. So goes this country. And I will not sit around to watch it. When I think it is too dangerous to stay here, I will let you have it and come back at a later date.
Y'all remember that movie Monsters, Inc.? When the monsters were collecting the screams of human children in order to power their city?
Warm your home. We light your city.
I'm Monsters Incorporated.
Hey, look, Betty! Carefully matching every child to their ideal monster to produce superior scream, refined into clean, dependable energy. Every time you turn something on, Monsters Incorporated is there.
That's what I feel like they're doing to us. With the shutdown, the military shutdown of DC, which I went to college in DC. I went to Howard University, and we all affectionately referred to it as Chocolate City. Lots of my DC friends, my Howard friends, live in the DMV now because there's a lot of black people that live there. A lot of well-to-do, educated black people live in the DMV. I feel like they are trying to make us upset. I've been feeling like this, but every time we don't get upset by the things that they do, every time we don't go out and give them the energy they need through our screams and our pain, they up the ante. And they're going to keep upping the ante until they get what they want, because it feeds their power. They need our pain to power their whole country. They need black pain. I truly do believe that. And I think that the antidote is joy. I think that the antidote for 300,000 black women being laid off is joy. I think that the antidote for, them making white cities and trying to make it upset, and them making eugenics ads and trying to make us upset is joy. I just don't think that we should react to it. I think that us sitting out was the best thing that we ever did, regardless of what anyone says. I think that taking our energy away is exactly the strategy we need right now. Because you cannot convince me that they're not doing what they're doing with the sole purpose of making us react. And the less we react, the more we just sit there and just be like, okay, whatever. The more they're going to do things. They're going to keep going and keep going and keep going. But I think that not giving them energy is the best thing that we can do.
I just came outside. I've been inside all day. It is fucking border patrol on every fucking corner in Northeast. Stay inside, stay safe, be smart. I wouldn't even advise you to jaywalk at this point. Like, it's not safe. Stay safe. Be smart. Talking to the men, okay? Man, it's border patrol on every corner in Northeast.
Oh, they got the DA. HSI. U.S. Marshals. Oh my God! What the fuck? Oh, they really hopping out. Oh, that shit real. They really coming to your trenches and jumping out and bagging your ass, bro. They ain't all type of shit, boy. What the fuck?
Bro, I swear, talking to your friends that are not politically aware, it's like, it's frustrating. It's like, I just called my homeboy who just took a flight from Louisiana to Washington, D.C. I text him, I'm like, what's good? You straight? I ain't getting no response. And that was way earlier, so I go ahead and call him. And it's like, probably like 7 right now. He answered the phone like, yo. I'm like, bruh, you ain't see me hit you up? Like, I'm like, dang, like, I'm just trying to, make sure you ain't dead. Like, He like, man, you called me about that Trump shit, and I just seen a couple military dudes, and that's about it. It's like, I'm just trying to look out for you, bro. Like, this stuff could turn into something crazy for us real soon. And I feel like it's not enough people that's thinking about what can happen and what he can do. He already did some crazy stuff, and just imagine the stuff that he's going to do. We the first year in. This is only the first year.
I can't be the only one that's seeing the videos of the National Guard jumping out of helicopters with parachutes, landing on the 24-hour music festival that has extended its way to DC. I want you guys to know this is not normal. They're gonna try so hard to convince people that them flying out of the sky, armed, in order to control the U.S. citizens that pay the taxes, for them to do that to begin with is normal. They're going to try very hard. What's happening in DC is happening in LA, it's happening in Portland. And right now, especially I think with DC, because DC wasn't even like a really big protest city. I'm sure they were having their demonstrations, but in comparison to LA or Portland, I feel like DC is the first step before we start seeing things happening like that in Phoenix, New York, legitimately anywhere he feels like there are enough people that don't like him. I guarantee we start to see this. Please prepare yourselves. I'm not telling you this is the end. I'm not telling you the sky is falling down. But in the world where they're sending in military troops to fall out of that same sky, it's important to be aware of what's going on. Last thing you want to be doing is driving to work and seeing that. You're not going to know what to do if you don't know. Not without knowing what's going on and how that affects you.
If you are black in DC, please watch this video. You may have noticed, just like I have, that President Donald Trump has encouraged federal law enforcement agencies to patrol the streets of DC. This means that agencies like FBI, U.S. Secret Service, U.S. Marshals, DEA are now patrolling the streets like they are local law enforcement in DC. And so this may produce some questions for us like, is this legal? Why is this happening? And how should I conduct myself in this climate? I'm going to address these things in this video. A few years ago, DC Council voted to allow federal law enforcement agencies to enforce local laws as if they are extensions of the Metropolitan Police Department. So, for example, FBI, U.S. Marshals have had permission to enforce local laws such as jaywalking and citing someone for smoking marijuana or like DUIs. Like they've had permission to do this. So everything that's happening is completely legal. Why is this happening? I grew up in this area. From the time I was a child, there have always been rumblings of the Republican Party wanting to take over DC. Like since I was a child, everything that's happening has been said, and like cooler minds prevailed, but there's always been conversation from very far right individuals about taking over DC and what that would look like for them to own and control the city. So this has been a part of their conversation. I've heard this since I was a child. Finally, how do you conduct yourself in this climate? First of all, I want you all to understand something. Federal agents are not your police officers from DC. They're not. They're from all over the country and they've been assigned to this area. You could have somebody who's a federal agent who has never really interacted with black people before in their life. They could be from the middle of nowhere. They became a federal law enforcement agency, whether it was Homeland Security or DEA. They've never really encountered black people other than on TV. And now they're a federal law enforcement agent, and President Trump has given them license to patrol the streets. A second thing, they are not trained like local law enforcement to patrol the streets. They're not. They don't have the same de-escalation training. They're not taught how to identify people. They also don't have the experience. So it is a very dangerous thing. And there are some people in DC who are like, oh, this is going to clean up the street. What makes you think that? I have 3 degrees. I look no differently from anybody else who's out here. I look no different from somebody who may be breaking into a car. This is not going to make the street safer for anybody. It's going to make it dangerous for all of us. So how do you conduct yourself? I'm going to tell you to follow the law seriously. If you drink and drive after going to brunch at night, I wouldn't do that. If you are driving with your insurance expired, I wouldn't do that. If you are driving, you got tail lights out, I wouldn't do that. And if you have to party and you want to have a good time, you want to let yourself loose, I would go to areas that voted blue during the last election where certain people don't have complete control over that jurisdiction. Maryland. I would go hang out in Maryland. That's what I would do.
Our capital is the opposite of tippy top. It's a shit house. Horrible. It's horrible. Washington, D.C., our capital. Washington, D.C. has become a dirty, crime-ridden death trap that must be taken over and properly run with.
As a DMV native, I was raised in Alexandria. I currently live in Upper Marlboro. I can tell you with clear assurity, the problem that conservatives have with DC is that they did not realize the level of black and immigrant power here. Because DC is one of the few cities in the country where class-wise, stratification-wise, black people, POC, white people can be pretty equal in DC. Education-wise, again, like socioeconomic status-wise, the way they were raised, it is very normal in DC to meet black suburban kids. Black kids who were raised in the suburbs, went to private school, and still have a lot of black friends, still very much understand their culture and their heritage. It is very common in DC to meet POC who have developed entire neighborhoods, whose parents are doctors, lawyers, engineers, who have all these titles and who take up in these spaces. Again, I made a video a couple months ago talking about like all the tourists in DC and how there's white people everywhere. everywhere, and people in the comments being like, oh, but I knew what I was talking about. I went to grad school in the Midwest, and I went to undergrad in a small town in South VA, and I've realized for a lot of white people, especially white conservatives, they're not used to seeing people of color in their spaces. Like, they're used to seeing them in passing, like want to be one or two here or there, but they're not used to walking into a nice restaurant and half the people in there are black. Half people in there are POC. They're not used to talking to black people on the regular, and every black person you're talking to has 2 degrees and a great job. Every person of color, every immigrant you're talking to went to school here at this top 20 university, went to law school, is a graduate of this and this and this and this, was on this journal, blah, 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 blah. And that's how DC is. It's a genuinely successful era. The entire DMV has that kind of culture. Black, white, doesn't matter. I remember when I was in high school, and that very much surprised me. I went to both a black high school and a white high school, but in the cases of both, almost everyone went to college. Like, it was either college, and again, my second high school was near a military base, went to schools like West Point, Navy, But it was like an assumption almost. And going to the Midwest and meeting so many people, I'm not shaming this culture, but like, college was not the standard default enrollment to them. But in DC, that's the case for everyone. And I'm telling you, this whole Trump thing, they are so bothered about the fact that they thought they took over. They came to DC, and then everywhere they go, they see the same people they're trying to get rid of. But these people are educated. They're intelligent. They're not intimidated because they've already earned their spot. They don't care. And that's where all this is coming from. As somebody who's been here my entire life and has seen the recent changes, like the scenery, for lack of better words, like, you will walk by giant groups of like MAGA people who you can tell are genuinely surprised that there are this many educated black professionals in DC. This many educated immigrants in DC. They're used to seeing us in positions of servitude, but again, DC is not like that. We hold power here. You know what I mean? Like, just like, not even just like culturally when it comes to like the parties, restaurants, yeah, that too, but like even the jobs, right? They're seeing black bosses, they're seeing black entrepreneurs, they're seeing people of color hold positions of high leadership that they cannot disparage them because these people are highly educated. That's what this is truly about. They thought they could come take over the city and we'd be little accessories, and the whole time, like, no, like, in the DMV, people of color hold massive power, massive spending power, massive cultural power. They're well educated. Like, this is not, it's a different arena. It's a different arena. And I think leaving is like, I used to like talk shit about DC my entire life, but leaving and coming back is something I always acknowledge. I did not realize how rare it was to be from an area where like culturally you are equal. You have your spaces, you have your restaurants, you have whatever, and everyone around you who looks like you is educated, talented, developed, whatever.
What's happening in DC and what will soon happen to New York City and Baltimore and Oakland and Chicago and all these majority black cities is why the YouTube AI age verification and just age verification in general happening is so dangerous. And I keep saying this. I just did a whole interview with the New Yorker about why this is so dangerous. And if you don't know, YouTube, starting in 2 days on the 13th, is going to start verifying people's ages on a small scale and then move it on to everybody who uses YouTube and then eventually everybody who uses Google because Google owns YouTube. Except they're not going to tell you that they're going to do that because they don't want mass pushback. But that's where it's going because that's where it always ends up going. The whole point of what is happening in DC is to shut down resistance, is a show of force to scare people. That's why there has been $150 billion allocated to ICE. That is why the only thing getting funded is prisons and cops. And the role age verification on the internet plays a role in is that everything you do online, everything you search, everything that you do will be tied to your government ID. So that when you can't protest in real life, but you can online, now that is cut off too. And it comes with a caveat. Except it's not really a caveat, it's part of the feature that not only will now you be forced to upload your government ID online, the things that you once had access to are now going to be censored. YouTube doing this to protect teenagers is the same as them doing this in DC to stop crime. Because the features they're implementing here to protect teens are not bad features, like no more targeted ads, etc. Why isn't that the default here? That's a conversation for another day. It's the way they're implementing it. The ability to be anonymous, both online and in real life, is a gift. And if we let that go, it's over.
All right, come here. Come here. If you're feeling freaked out about the DC stuff, bring it in. Come on, get your hug. If you need a hug, you got a hug. okay? Because I know a lot of this stuff scares you guys, and I know there's content creators on here that like to jump on this and scare people, and I'm sad that that's a thing, okay? Or you know, maybe they're feeling down and depressed and they drag you down with them, and I don't personally agree with that, but to each their own, okay? But I want to put something in your brain, okay? When you see a leader put guards out there, like National Guards, he said he federalized them, he didn't. They were already federalized. When you see them do that, that is a sure sign that they are failing. He's failing terribly, and you don't see that because of the way the breaking news is reported. You don't see it because you don't get all of the information about the resistance that's been going on. You just get little snippets here and there, but this app is really good at pushing all the scary bad news, and they don't give it very good context, because a lot of times if you have context, things aren't as scary as they feel. But I grew up with someone very much like Donald Trump, and that's probably why I'm good at my job. But every time he would lay a plan out there and want everyone to go along with it, and we didn't, he wouldn't go, oh, okay, well, let me get back to you on that. Or, oh, well, what's going on? What are you upset about? It was just smash, smash, smash. It was just rage. It was feeling rejected. It was feeling afraid that we were on to him. And that's the thing, because they have this fear of someone's going to be on to me. And we are on to him. We've always been on to him, but his own are waking up to him. And I don't think people, if you haven't been in a cult, you don't understand how hard it is to wake up. And yet he's managed to have them waking up. That's a miracle. They are in an isolated bubble in their head. They do not hear or see what you see or hear. They live in a different world completely. They have been believing that this man is here to save this country. And they love him for it, and they are thankful for it, and they think they're doing a good thing. And that is why they get so angry at us, because they're like, what are you guys doing? He's trying to help us, and you monsters are trying to stop him. So of course we look like monsters, because why would we be trying to stop this good person? That is their reality. It doesn't matter if you understand it or not. But the point is that he's waking up his own followers. That is very hard to do, and he's doing it by just failing in every direction. The Epstein files, the economy's about to get smashed. They're feeling it. I see it all over online. Like, what the fuck is up with this economy? Like, dude, where's the money? They're pissed. They're scared. His failures are just starting to penetrate them in a way they didn't before, because you can't start waking up from a cult till they're in full power, and he wasn't in full power till January 20th. So all the stuff that happened before, it's like it didn't even matter. It didn't exist. But now it does, because they're going to hold him to account, because he has to be able to deliver now. And he's not. He's not delivering on Epstein. He's not delivering on the economy, and the economy will be the tell-all. You do not win in a bad economy. You don't. We just saw that happen in the last election, and that happened worldwide. That wasn't just here. An incumbent that tried to win off the economies of the last so many years, they got trashed in the elections. That's how elections work. You either get people money or you get the fuck out. Deportations are failing. People don't like how it's happening, how they're hiring ICE as a joke. All of this looks really bad, and it's just falling apart. And because of how you see the news and how people are talking about this, it makes you feel like we are losing. But the fact that he's putting those out there, he needs the distraction, but he also needs to feel in control and feel safe from both sides now. So while the news could scare you, I want you to feel a sense of pride, like, oh, we're waking up to him. Both sides. Like we see, we're pushing back. There's already protesters out there. If you think there's not going to be a shit ton of protesters out there, if you think people aren't going to fight back, they are. We have been fighting back, but that doesn't get reported on. Okay? When you see him have to do moves like that, that means he feels out of control. It makes it feel like everything's slipping through his fingers, because it is. Because we're not going to put up with it. And because people see the reality of who he is, which is a failure, which is his biggest fear. So while you could let it scare you, Let it make you feel excited for about what's to come, because this country is saying absolutely not.
So I talked to my MAGA parents last week and I almost did not recognize them. Let me just tell you what they had to say. My mom just suddenly brought up ICE and how, and we don't talk about these things, very much, because I actually can't really handle talking to them, especially lately. Like, it's been a long time since we actually spoke, and I was a little nervous about, what do they think about all this crazy shit that's going on? Like, wow. So she brought up ICE, and she started saying how she doesn't understand why they're not helping people get citizenship that have been here. Why aren't they helping them? Why is the process so hard for them? Like, it doesn't make any sense. And I was like, right, yeah, I know, it doesn't make any sense. And then she was like, this person that I know, they have a business and they had someone working for them for 20 years and he's a good guy, and he's been trying to get a citizenship, but it's like it's too difficult and like traumatizing for him to continue to try, all this stuff. And she said that ICE went to this person's farm and they took him, and she can't believe it, and she's so upset, and she thought they were going to take the worst of the worst. And how this is not what they're doing, and this is not what they said they were going to do. And she was just really distraught to see the way people are being treated that she thinks are good people. And I was just like, oh my God, thank God she's just, not just okay with it, or cheering it on, my God, And my dad in the background said, Trump's going too far. He's going too far. And I'm like, oh my God, thank you. And like, some of the time when they were talking, I'm thinking, these people sound like fucking Democrats or liberals. Like they don't. And then at one point I was like, oh my God, they're woke. Oh my God. And so I said, Ma, do you realize that there's a camp over here in the Everglades, and they're just taking people, and they're not giving people any kind of trial, or like, do you realize that? And she was like, well, I know. And I was like, do you know that there's just tents and cages inside the tents, and like that it's already flooded, and it's hurricane season, and they're only feeding them one meal a day? She's like, what do you mean tents? I didn't know that. And I was just like, yeah, Ma. And I was telling her, as a queer person, it does not feel very safe to live here in Florida, but also in the United States. Like, I don't even recognize this country that I love and I grew up in, and it's going down such a bad path. And I asked her, did you know that they got rid of the hotline for LGBTQIA plus people to call when they can't take it anymore? Do you realize they got rid of that? Why would they get rid of a hotline like that? Because they don't want us here. They don't care. Like, and she's like, she couldn't believe that. And then I told her, I was really heartbroken on January 20th when I suddenly could be, fired from a job just because of who I love. Who gives a shit, first of all? But like, just because of that. And at that time she was like, that's not true. That's not true. But so that was really hurtful. But I told her, these are things that are real and that are happening, and you don't realize because you're not in the community. She's like, well, I don't really hear about those things. Do you know anyone that like had to leave? And I said, yes, I do. I know people that have like fled the state, especially trans people, because they're not fucking safe. And she was really sorry and sad to hear that. So that was a relief. So then she starts to tell me that she was reading that in, I think she said 1776. This isn't right. But anyway, that, they ended slavery and they didn't even tell people in certain areas, and they just kept on, doing what they were doing. And she couldn't believe it. She thought it was, and I'm like, I know. Yeah, that is fucking terrible, isn't it? She's like, well, that's what Juneteenth is. And I was like, I know. And, before I've heard people say like, oh, why do we have to celebrate Juneteenth? Da, 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 da. And now they're like, well, and I'm like, yeah, Ma, doesn't it make sense that we would celebrate that? And she's like, well, yeah. And I'm like, I know. And these are my MAGA parents, people. Like, these are people that have been very irritable about every little thing that's happened, about different groups of people. And here they are coming around.
And I watch, I think Friendly Honey Badger, and she says things like this are happening. The cult's falling apart, and I believe her, and I listen, and I hope, and I pray, and but this is just a little more proof that that is actually happening. And she said, what movie your father and I watched? I said, no. She said, 12 Years a Slave. Have you ever seen that? And I was like, well, yeah, a long time ago. And so she starts telling me, like, how she can't believe this has happened. I'm like, Ma, you should watch 13th, because they lied to us. They did not tell us what actually happened in American history. They did not. So I grew up not really fully understanding, but like when you hear it from Black historians and people who were there and people who are not white, then you start to understand like what's going on. And I said, did you know that I think it was 1/3 of the slave trade went through Providence, which is where I'm from? And she said, I believe it. And I heard that the Brown University family owned the most slaves. And I was like, wow, like, so she's starting to hear and understand these things or find this information. Thank God. And so I asked her if she heard about the new bill that was signed about, homeless and people with mental illness, that they can just take them and institutionalize them. And first of all, I made sure not to say, did you hear what Trump did? Trump, da 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 da. Like, I just said, did you hear what they did? Did you hear the bill they signed? Like, using language that doesn't accuse him, right? Because you know how cults are. But anyway, so I asked her if she had heard about this bill, and she said, what? No, what do you mean institutionalize them? Does that mean they're going to help them? Does that mean they're going to... And I'm like, help? No, that's not what it means, Mom. It means that anyone, they deem them to be homeless or mentally ill, or I don't know, if they just don't like what people are doing on the street, they can just take them. That's how I understand it. And also, like, they've also said that gay people have a mental illness. So it could be that in time, they will just turn that to us, Like, it's fucking frightening. And so she's like, oh, well, they got to consent to that, right? And I'm like, no, they don't have to consent. She's like, well, that's how it is. They have to. And I'm like, no, like now that used to be how it was, but now they're trying to make it so that's not how it is anymore. And obviously that's extremely dangerous. And she was like shocked. And I told my mom, which I made a video on it like a week ago or something, about the number of sexual predators against minors in the U.S., the percentage of them that were trans people and drag queens, and the huge percentage that were of the church. And so she was saying how, like, she doesn't think it's like because gay people are the people that would abuse children, or that, someone's hiding behind the cloth and they're really gay and they're a pedophile. Like, that being a pedophile or a predator does not have anything to do with being gay or straight. Like, it's just the type of person that you are. And I'm like, well, yes, of course. Thank you. It's just such a fucking relief to hear this. Like, I couldn't even speak to them after the election for months. I haven't spoken to them much since then. Like, I can't handle it to know what's going on. And like that, I think that they're like okay with it, And she was saying that she thinks there's more people that are good, and she can't believe the majority of people would feel this way or think this way. And I said, well, the people that are not are the ones that are loud, and they're the ones that have a plan. And she like doesn't believe, she didn't hear about Project 2025. She they're not telling people the truth. So people that are MAGAs or are like supposedly in support of him, they don't really know what he's fully doing because they lie to them, And she said there's just too much hatred. There's too much hatred. And I was saying, yeah, like they're making us hate each other. But it's the companies, it's the rich people, it's the people that, are benefiting from us hating each other, are benefiting big, And so I just wanted to share this because, like, I was fucking blown away. I can't believe what I've heard my parents say. And thank God, my God, I felt such relief. My body felt calmer. I wasn't like, just like, oh God, it's just been so fucking stressful. And to hear them like have turned something around or have some new views or have some new information was such a fucking relief. And I hope that we see this more and more. And I hope that for your family and your friends, and people are fucking waking up. If my parents opened an eye up and they can see some shit, people are waking up.
What's happening in Washington, D.C.?
United States of America was suddenly and deliberately attacked by naval and air forces of the Empire of Japan.
Unless you're one of the first Americans, a Native American, you came from someplace else. Somebody brought you. The Irish, who left behind a land of famine. The Germans, who fled persecution. The Scandinavians, who arrived eager to pioneer out west. The Polish, the Russians, the Italians, the Chinese, the Japanese, the West Indians, the huddled masses who came through Ellis Island on one coast and Angel Island on the other. All those folks, before they were us, they were them. And when each new wave of immigrants arrived, they faced resistance from those who were already here. They faced hardship. They faced ridicule. But over time, as they went about their daily lives, as they earned a living, as they raised a family, as they built a community, as their kids went to school here, they did their part to build a nation. They were the Einsteins and the Carnegies, but they were also the millions of women and men whose names history may not remember, but whose actions helped make us who we are, who built this country hand by hand, brick by brick. They all came here knowing that what makes somebody an American is not just blood or birth, but allegiance to our founding principles and the faith in the idea that anyone from anywhere can write the next great chapter of our story.
We say no! That is America! We say no! Now is the time for Trump to go! We are calling on all of you to join us in the streets right now! We refuse Trump's fascist takeover of D.C. We refuse to accept unleashing of murderous federal police and That's right. In the name of humanity. And this Saturday, across the country, across the East Coast, we are calling people to come to D.C., and that means D.C. needs to turn out too. Because we have to refuse Trump's fascist takeovers, and we have to refuse. Now's the time for Trump to go. Now's the time for Trump to go. Fascist next, we say no. Fascist next, we say no. Trump must go now! Trump must go now! Trump must go now! Trump must go now! Trump must go now!
Washington, D.C. residents showed up, said this is our city, and held powerful protests against the Trump regime, specifically against Donald Trump's fascist takeover of the Metropolitan Police Department under the false pretext that there is a massive crime wave taking place in Washington, D.C. Hey, Donald, you should really be focused on those red states and red cities because the crime rate there significantly higher, and crime is dropping, by the way, significantly in Washington, D.C. Donald Trump is also sending in the National Guard to Washington, D.C., and Trump said he'll be sending in other military forces into Washington, D.C. Let me show you some of my favorite signs from the protest right here. Trump's lying about D.C. to distract you from the Epstein files. Release the Epstein files. and then a cartoon of Trump saying, "Nothing to see here, folks." And then there's this sign, DC says freedom, not fascism, or signs like this, "No Trump Gestapo in DC." Let me show you another camera angle of those protests. Tens of thousands of protesters showed up in DC, making the powerful point that you don't scare us, Donald Trump. Here, play this clip.
Free DC! Free DC! Free DC! Free DC! Protect home rule! Protect all rule! Protect all rule!
Then protesters went right in front of the White House. And as you know, Donald Trump intends to demolish the east wing of the White House in September to build a 90,000 square foot golden ballroom. And we don't know where the funding is coming from or who's funded the architectural plans to date. Watch the protesters directly in front of the White House. Play this clip.
Whose house is this? Whose house is this?
Now, here's another group of protesters rallying in downtown Washington, D.C. Here, play this clip. Now, they were protesting, of course, Donald Trump's incompetent authoritarian regime. Donald Trump held a press conference earlier in the day saying, "I'm very competent. I'm competent. I can pull this off because I'm the most competent person." Here, play this clip.
And that we will deliver like nobody's ever delivered before. I actually think it's easy. You know, if you're competent, it's easy. If you're incompetent, it's impossible.
My name is Paul Cruz. I was a sergeant first class in the U.S. Army. I served on active duty from 2004 until 2012. I served in the U.S. Army Reserves from 2012 until 2021. I was an intelligence analyst, tactical information operations planner, and instructor. I'm asking anyone who served, who raised their hands, to remember the oaths they took. I deployed to Iraq in 2008 and 2009 with 3rd Brigade, 25th Infantry Division. I'm asking everyone out there who raised their hand to just think about what's going on. And you took an oath to the Constitution. Remember that you took an oath to the Constitution and not loyalty to one person. And that there are such things as unlawful orders. The Nuremberg trials, the defense, I was only following orders, wasn't good enough. Not good enough then, it's not good enough now. I'm just asking you to take it into consideration. And for everyone that's going to be out protesting, and No Kings protests or the veterans protests and ICE protests, doesn't matter. If you're out this weekend and you're in a major city and things are going on, be peaceful. Exercise your First Amendment rights. Those are protected. The right to assemble peaceably, without burning cars to the ground. And I know that the situation was exaggerated by the media and other factors. But we need to take into consideration that don't give them a reason. Tight, chill, bro. I'm trying to record. Just don't give them a reason, is what I'm saying. Don't give them a reason at all to, they're looking for one. Just don't give them what they want. Like, if everybody just, the soldiers that are going to be there and the Marines and even the cops, they're tired. They're going to be really irritable. They're not going to want, so just don't engage, try to help and be calm and soothe everything out. And I know that it's difficult, but we need to remember who the real enemy is. They've got everybody fighting over who's, immigrants and blaming these people for taking their jobs and blaming everything on, visas and programs and, all our money is going overseas. No, your money's been going into the pockets of politicians. Your money's been going into the pockets of all of these billionaires. They've been making excuses. It's everyone else. Everyone else's fault. It's just them. It's just them. That's the real enemy. The rest of us need to realize, and I know that's difficult because I know a lot of people look at the civil rights movement and say, hey, where were, the Latinos, where were the other groups at that time? And I understand that, absolutely. I think I get it. So I can't say nothing about it. We just got to keep fighting. But I feel that we have to come together in this, and I feel that we will. I have faith that we will, and I'm doing my best to make sure that that's true. So again, just remember you have your oaths, and just remember, like, why did you put that uniform on? I'll share some information later, but a friend of mine posted a meme that I thought was celebrating soldiers, fighting against American civilians, and I could not keep my mouth shut on that. So I honestly, is this who we are? Is this who we are now? As a people, as a country, like what are we doing, man? Like I'm genuinely asking, what are we doing? Like as a people, like what happened to decency? Like this is inhumane. People getting put in cages. Like I don't even want, like I actually, it's difficult to talk about, I'm being honest. It affects me in personal ways as well, but that's not even the point. It shouldn't even matter. I think that we're in a moment of time, and each person needs to take a long look at themselves. They can take a look in the mirror, take a look in your soul, whatever it is, and ask yourself, are you on the right side of history? Ask yourself if you're just planting your feet because you're embarrassed by what you believe. You don't need to double down. Now is the time for us to get together because it's intense, people. It's intense. So I just want you to say that, I'm loyal to my oath, and I hope I know that there's a lot of people out there that are loyal to this. You're gonna find one person here and there. We need to point out those lone wolves. We need to point out those bad actors. We need to point out the individuals that do that, because it's not everyone. Most people still, there's still hope left, I'll say that. I still believe that, absolutely. Let's go. All right, I'm gonna walk you now.